The exchange lasted less than 24 hours. A comedian with a platform made an assessment. A woman with millions of followers made a response. By morning, the internet had screenshots. Entertainment outlets had headlines. The moment had crystallized into content, but underneath the swift eruption was something more deliberate, a collision between two different philosophies about who gets to decide what matters. On the afternoon of July 27, 2026, Lil Duval posted to X that Brittany Renner never looked good to him and that she was simply light-skinned and came out at the right time. Social media was accepting anybody. The post was framed as a personal opinion, delivered casually with laughing emojis. The message was structured in 3 connected claims. Within hours, Renner replied, "The confidence is admirable. Never in history have you been any woman's dream guy, you short, wide-mouthed bitch." The response was direct and cutting. She did not engage with his premise. She redirected the entire conversation toward him, his implausibility as a romantic option, his physical characteristics, his presumed limitations. The reversal was complete. The statement, once broadcast, accumulated millions of impressions across social media platforms. What makes this moment worth examining is not the insult itself. Online spaces have never been short of personal attacks. What matters is what preceded it, what surrounded it, and what it suggests about the experience of being a woman whose entire existence has been constructed as public property. Brittany Renner was born on February 26, 1992, in Ocean Springs, Mississippi. She grew up in a mixed-race family, African American and Creole heritage from her father's side, Caucasian heritage from her mother's side. Mississippi in the early 1990s was not a place that made room for such ambiguity. She would grow up aware of how she was perceived, by whom. She played soccer at Jackson State University and was part of the 2010 SWAC championship team. She was athletic. She was disciplined. She was part of something larger than herself. But athletics had limits. Professional opportunities were constrained. The visibility that came with a scholarship and a starting position would end when graduation arrived. So she did what millions of young people have done since 2010. She turned toward the internet. Brittany's career began on Instagram in 2013, where she posted fitness, routines and body transformation content. She built something. She was methodical about it. Brittany's content was tightly focused. Fitness imagery, routines, and lifestyle visuals created a clear value proposition for followers. She was not performing personality. The fitness industry is unusual because it is one of the few digital spaces where women's bodies are treated as instructional. A woman can post an image of her body in the context of fitness, and that body is allowed to take up space without immediately becoming an object of sexual consumption, or, rather, the sexual consumption is secondary to the utility. People follow fitness creators for the same reason they follow cooking channels. They want to learn something. The body is a tool, not the full subject. This distinction mattered to Renner's early brand building. By the mid-2010s, she had cultivated several million followers. The fitness space had become crowded, but Renner had secured a particular kind of authority. She was not the most extreme body transformation specialist. She was a credible guide to a sustainable practice. This positioning allowed to move into adjacent spaces with legitimacy intact. She developed an app called The Bundle of Brittany, which offers information on her workout routines and diet plans. Tech giant Microsoft invited her to host fitness boot camps as part of their Xbox promotion, but corporate partnerships were not the only kind of attention her visibility attracted. Her memoir Judge This Cover offered a bold exposé on celebrity relationships, including with Colin Kaepernick and others. The book, published in 2018, shifted her public narrative. She was a woman with opinions about famous men, with stories that could challenge how those men were perceived, with relationships that had consequences. The book was unfiltered. It was also controversial. It positioned her differently in the cultural imagination, not as an expert offering guidance, but as someone with information, with access, with experiences that could threaten the constructed images of powerful men. The shift was subtle but consequential. When a woman has 5 million followers and decides to publish details about relationships with high-profile figures, she is no longer just a content creator. She becomes a potential liability to the men she has known. She becomes someone whose narrative can intersect with power. By the early 2020s, Renner had extended her platform further. Television opportunities followed, with appearances on shows like Basketball Wives, The Haves and the Have-Nots, and American Soul. She also appeared in Kevin Gates' Bad for Me music video. She was visible in entertainment. She was known. What she did not have was control over what that visibility would be used for. The appearance on Basketball Wives recontextualized her entirely. The show operates in a particular genre, one that emphasizes relationship status, wealth accumulation, and the management of high-profile men. Renner fit the template structurally, but she was not comfortable within it thematically. She had her own platform. She was on the show as a peer, not as an accessory. This friction was visible. Then came her relationship with NBA player PJ Washington. They had a child together in 2021. They did not marry. The decision to have a child with someone while remaining unmarried is positioned differently, depending on the woman involved. For Renner, it fit an existing narrative that had been building since the publication of her memoir. She was sexually liberated, unmarried, capable of making decisions about her own life without external validation. The public framing of this was not neutral. It was loaded with judgment. It created space for people to question her choices, her character, her fitness as a mother. Renner shares a 5-year-old son with Dallas Mavericks power forward PJ Washington. By July 2026, the co-parenting situation had become complicated. In a video posted last Friday, July 24th, Renner warned Washington to stop playing with her and their son, and claimed that Washington was exhibiting deadbeat behavior. This was not a private family matter. This was a broadcast to millions of followers about a man's failure to meet parental obligations. The timing is relevant. Within days of this accusation, a comedian with a platform decided to offer his assessment of her attractiveness. Within days of defending her son's interests publicly, she was being told, in front of millions of people, that she had never been attractive, and had succeeded only because of timing and her skin color. The psychology of this timing is worth considering. When a woman makes herself vulnerable by discussing her struggles as a mother, when she puts her child's welfare above her public image, when she occupies a position of moral authority by defending someone weaker than herself, the response from certain quarters is often to undermine that authority by attacking her from a different angle. If you cannot defeat her argument on its merits, shift the ground, attack her appearance, question her attractiveness, suggest that she has been lucky rather than skilled, fortunate rather than intelligent. This move is not unique to Renner. It is a recognizable pattern in how women who occupy public space are managed, particularly women who refuse to remain in assigned roles. Renner had published a book revealing relationships with famous men. She had appeared on television without deferring to the men around her. She had spoken publicly about her own needs and boundaries. She had called out a man for not meeting his parental obligations. Each of these actions created space for retaliation. Each opened the door for someone to decide she was overstepping, that she needed to be reminded of her place, that she needed to understand the limits of her right to speak. Lil Duval had actually defended Renner on a previous occasion. In 2023, when Brittany Renner's 35-person body count shocked Shannon Sharpe in a recent interview and prompted criticism online, Lil Duval tweeted on Thursday afternoon, "If y'all think having sex with 35 people is a lot, y'all gon' swear I'm supposed to be dead from a disease," defending her against moral judgment over her sexual history. He had been on the other side of this equation not long before. But between the 2023 defense and the July 2026 attack, something had shifted. Perhaps his patience had expired. Perhaps he had seen Renner wielding her platform in a way he did not approve of. Perhaps he simply wanted attention. A woman does something he dislikes, and his response is to attack her appearance, to suggest she was never attractive in the first place, to reduce her existence to the accidents of her birth and the moment she was born into. Renner's response was efficient. She did not defend her appearance. She did not argue that she was, in fact, attractive. that her success was not a matter of timing, that her complexion was not the only thing she had to offer. She understood that engaging on that terrain was a losing game. She recognized that there was no combination of words that could convince someone who had already decided she was unattractive that this is a strategy. It is also a capitulation of a kind. It means accepting that the conversation about your attractiveness, your value, your right to exist as a public figure is always on the table, always available for comment, always worth engaging with because the alternative is silence. A woman can refuse to defend herself, but the space to refuse requires its own kind of performance, its own investment. What is notable about the July 2026 exchange is what it reveals about the cumulative weight of being watched, of having your body analyzed, of having people feel entitled to assess your appearance, your choices, your worthiness to occupy space. Renner has been doing this for over a decade. She has television appearances. She has a book. She is a mother. She has agency. And still, a man with a platform felt comfortable posting an assessment of her attractiveness to an audience, felt comfortable reducing her entire existence to a side effect of her skin tone and fortunate timing, felt comfortable doing this without any sense that he was crossing a line. The exchange did not continue. Neither party posted again in the immediate aftermath, but the screenshots persisted. The conversation spread. Entertainment outlets picked it up and repackaged it. The moment became a story that could be consumed, analyzed, judged. But for Renner, this was simply one more assessment, one more judgment, one more man feeling authorized to tell her what she was worth. The deeper question is whether this kind of engagement, the response, the clapback, the performance of not being silenced, actually changes anything. Renner responded, and her response was sharp, and millions of people saw it. The comedian was publicly embarrassed, but the conversation itself remained trapped in the same framework.